My book is called Motherless Soul, and it's the story of Emily Vinson, who's an elderly woman whose life was impacted by the loss of her mother when she was 2 years old. At 82, Emily contacts a hypnotist, hoping to draw out hidden memories to discover as much as possible about the short time she spent with the woman who gave her life. But Glenn Wiley teaches her more than she had expected to learn. By helping bring out memories of many past lives, including an experience that took place on a smoke-filled battlefield. All of Emily's lives have had the same tragic outcome, the loss of her mother at a young age. Her soul is caught in what Glenn calls circularity. The tragedy will occur again and again unless she can break the pattern. To do that, they must revisit her past lives and use what they learned to find the other souls who are part of the circle, using the past to change the future. The people in Emily's world are as influenced by who they were and what happened to them as they are by the present, making for complicated and fascinating relationships. Emily's desire to know her mother is realized in intricate and unsettling ways no one could have imagined possible. So the first section out of my book that I'm going to read occurs when Emily is going back to see the first visit with her mother that she does not remember, but she's pulling out those memories from when she was 2 years old so that she can learn a little bit more about the woman. And here's how it goes. Emily drove back to Glenn's place the next morning. It was a wet day with a constant light rain interspersed with short downpours. Fortunately, Emily missed the heavy showers, but the humidity caused her legs to ache, which made the climb to the apartment even harder than the day before. She was wearing the loose clothing she brought per his instructions, a long skirt and a large, long-sleeve sweatshirt. She had a pair of flats on, but Glenn had her remove them before the process began. He took Emily to a guest room and had her lie on the bed with no pillow. He explained that to pull memories of her mother, he would make her recall a specific event in her life that had occurred before her mother had died. Then he told her to stare at the ceiling. Over the years, a nail had worked its way through the spackle that had originally covered it, and now its head lay exposed on the white sheetrock. It made a perfect point of focus. "Your eyes are growing tired," Glenn told her. "Your lids are heavy." She was nervous at first, but Emily let that feeling flow out of her. She tried to put herself somewhere else in a gentle memory from her past. She knew that was the wrong thing to do. She should have been focused on what Glenn was saying. But Emily needed to relax, and using her imagination was the way she did that best. Emily's eyes were closed so she could put a different face to Glenn's soothing voice. She chose Clark Gable, her favorite actor when she was a young woman. She imagined the scene in Gone with the Wind when he was dancing with Scarlett after paying $150 in gold for the chance. There were other actors Emily liked, but Clark Gable was the man who came to her imagination on the days when her solitary life made her feel more lonely than independent. And now she was too old for the silliness of sexuality. She found she was still not too old to think and feel. "Look back in time," Glenn said. "You're a child. Your mother is near you. You're learning to walk, to take your first steps." Emily let Rhett Butler drift away. She tried to imagine clouds or cotton, enormous spans of white, soft nothingness. "Your mother's helping you," Glenn told her. "She's coaching you through the process. She wants you to cross to her, to be near her where you feel warm and secure. She's calling you." Emily was starting to see her there. The dress she was wearing was white muslin, almost the color of the clouds she was wrapped in, but her brown hair was clear. It was like an island on a sea of snow. The memory didn't jump into her head as she had expected it would. Instead, it gradually seeped its way in, becoming clearer and more defined as each instant passed. "Her will is overwhelming. All you want is to please her." Then suddenly the memories poured into Emily's head, as if a dam had burst. Her mother was there, the woman Emily had spent most of her life imagining. She wasn't calling her as Glenn had suggested. She was standing across the room, looking at Emily and smiling. Emily was looking back at her from the odd perspective of a child sitting on a floor. Yet she could tell how beautiful her mother was, and she could see the warmth in her eyes. The experience was very much like normal memories, only more intense. Emily was looking through the eyes of the child she had been and feeling what she had felt back then, but at the same time she had the perspective of the woman she had grown into. She could see her mother. She could think about how she looked and sounded, but she also thought about herself and what an amazing experience she was having. Her mother walked across the room and lifted Emily to her feet. Then she stepped back and left her daughter there. Emily's legs were wobbly and weak, but she was able to stand. Her mother held her arms out to her daughter and called her name. Emily wanted to be upright and tall. She wanted to be big like her mother, but more than that, she wanted to hold her mother, to smell her skin, to wrap her arms around her mother's leg and rest her head on her soft thigh. Emily had to reach her mother to feel secure and protected. She took a step in her direction. She wobbled a little more, but she wasn't going to stop there. She took another step, then her legs gave out and she sat down abruptly. Her mother came to Emily and bent down. "Good, Emily, very good," she said as she lifted her daughter once more. Her arms were powerful but soft, like a gentle river that's always there, always flowing. Yet in the back of her mind, Emily knew that always was the wrong word. "Try it again," her mother added. Emily stepped back and tried once more. This time she took 3, 4, and finally 5 steps. She fell into her mother and was home in the arms of the woman she'd loved and longed for her entire life. "When I count to 3, you will wake up," Glenn's voice called out from a lifetime away. "You will remember what you experienced. 1, 2, 3. Emily woke up in a stunned state. The experience had been so emotional that it had left her groggy, almost as if she were drunk. She worked her way to a sitting position on the side of the bed and stayed there for a moment, breathing heavily as she tried to comprehend what she'd just been through. "Are you all right?" Glenn asked. She looked down at her hands in her lap. The wrinkled skin on her wrists and her palms, and across the backs of her hands and her fingers, was pale pink with blue veins peeking through and a couple of dark blemishes. They were the hands of an old woman, and they were empty hands. The memory of her mother reminded her how empty they'd been throughout her life. She tried not to cry, but the tears started rolling down her cheeks. She brushed her hands across her face and then looked down at the floor as she rubbed the back of her neck and sucked in a deep breath. She'd lived a life without her mother. She had gone on from that tragedy to lead a life with few friends, and after her father had died, without any family at all. No one cared who she was, or what she had done throughout the years she had spent in the world. And now she had a picture of what she'd missed. She felt what it was like to watch someone take pride in the smallest of her accomplishments, even the simple ability to walk. Emily forced back her sobs. "I'd always known my mother was beautiful, but she was much more. The experience was like finding the comfort of a warm bed after a hard day, but it was 100 times more than that could ever be. This was about being a person in a way I can't remember ever experiencing. I know those feelings were in me. That child was me, of course, but it wasn't a me I remembered. There were so many strange, new, wonderful experiences in just the short burst of time you gave me. All I can say is thank you. Thank you so much." Glenn leaned over and hugged her. He didn't hold back and hurt Emily a little, but she was so excited she didn't care. "Can we go again now?" she asked. "Not now," he told her. "There's a great deal of emotional strain in an experience such as this. You need to work up to longer sessions, just like an athlete needs to get in shape before a game. But you are clearly an excellent subject, so it won't end here." "You'll send me back?" she asked. I was serious about going back further, back into the memories of your soul. "You have my word on that." "And you have my word that I'll be back on your bed tomorrow." Glenn laughed at how Emily had praised herself, but she could tell he was looking forward to what they were about to go through.